What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another podcast episode of Truth's Podcast with your host, True Car. Today, I wanted to talk about understanding how to take up for yourself and how to be there for yourself and how to speak your truth without trying to control people or without forcing people to understand you or without stepping outside of your character in order for other people to listen to you or understand you or be there for you the way that you want them to be there for you. I think it's important to understand that us as people can't control anything outside of ourselves. We can only control ourselves. We can only connect and do the inner work on our own emotions. And I think it's important to understand that in order to make sure that you are having, healthy connections and healthy relationships in your life. And most importantly, a healthy relationship with yourself and with your own voice and with your own boundaries as well. And I think it's important to understand how to communicate your emotions and how to connect to your emotions, therefore you're able to convey to another person, or you're able to open up to another person about how you feel. That way other people can't control your emotions or manipulate you into feeling a different way about how you feel. And I think it's important to understand that when it comes to your emotions, to understand how to be your own advocate and understand how to understand your emotions. That way when you go towards people that you want to keep in your life, or you go towards people that you feel like you have something to get off of your chest, you're conveying or you're communicating to them clear and precisely what you need them to understand about your emotions. And I think that's important to understand. And I think it's important to understand that it's a trauma response to feel like you always have to yell, or to feel like you always have to go towards a person when when you're angry or when you're upset, and allow them to take that from you. And I think it's important to understand that that has a lot to do with the mother wound. And it's important to understand that if you have something to say, if something is on your chest heavy, it's important to convey that message to whoever you need to convey it to in order for you to feel at peace. Because sometimes when you go along and you write in a journal, or you just feel through your emotions, you tend to understand whether or not you need to communicate with those other people or not, what is hurting you or what is affecting you or whatever the case may be, and gives you a clearer mindset on what to say to those people when you're ready to speak up. And I think it's important to understand that, because for me personally, when I was younger, I had a lot of anger built up within me, and I felt like it was either 0 or 100 with me. It was either I wouldn't say anything at all, or when I was ready to speak up, I was at my boiling point. And so for me, I understood also in those situations, it was different people that were nitpicking, or different people that were trying to get a reaction out of me. And when I finally reached that boiling point, I gave them exactly what they wanted from me, and I gave them a reason to go and say that I went off for no reason, or because it's people that are passive aggressive and they do little things in order to try to get under your skin. So that way, when the time comes when you do go off on them, they're able to say, oh, I don't know why she went off, or oh, I don't know why he went off, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's important to understand to not wait till it gets to a point where everything is boiling up to the point where you are now lashing out on those different individuals. Allow yourself to understand your triggers. That way you can work through your triggers. That way you know what triggers you, and understanding also to get rid of the people out of your life that purposely trigger you and purposely try to get under your skin, or if you have to deal with those people on a daily basis, like for example, if you live with them, or if you have to work with them, or if you are in their vicinity most of the day, or whatever the case may be, understanding how to create space in those situations and understanding how to protect your energy before you have to get in those situations as well. Because for me, for example, if I know that I have to be around somebody that I don't necessarily like, or that I know that we are not compatible in our emotions, or whatever the case may be, I understand. For me personally, I meditate every single day when I wake up. And so, and I pray. And so, in order for you to understand how to keep your peace and your energy protected, I think it's important to understand the mechanisms that work for you, the mechanisms that can keep you protected and at peace and at a emotional in emotional stability as well. And I think it's important to understand what works for you. That way you're not allowing anyone to just control your emotions, because if someone can instantly get you angry and instantly get you out of character, that person can instantly manipulate you to do or be whatever they want you to be. And I think it's important to understand that in order to protect your space and protect your peace of mind. And also understanding how to bring yourself back down into a space of peace when you do have those moments where you do get angry, or you do get mad, or you do get sad, because we are human. So sometimes those things do come up no matter what you do to prepare yourself for that day. And so I think it's important to understand different techniques in order to really genuinely bring yourself back into your own energy. And one of those things, and one of those ways, I'm going to give you multiple ways. One of those ways is to do breath work, and you can look up on YouTube breath work techniques in order to release energy, or release anger, or release agitation, or whatever the case may be. Or you can, it's also a thing of humming and releasing it through your body, and that way starting from the top of your head, and paying attention to that energetically, and starting from the top of your head, and allowing yourself to be the observer of your body, and allowing whatever energy to flow through the bottom of your feet. And I think it's important to learn different techniques like that, or take a little prayer break, and ask for protection and ask for guidance in whatever situation that you have to deal with, in order to deal with those different people or those different situations, in order to make sure that you are staying protected and at peace. And I think it's also important, if you do go off, to not judge yourself for going off, but also understand that you are human, and understand that sometimes people get out of pocket, and sometimes they may catch you off guard, and allowing yourself grace in those different times, and being compassionate with yourself, and allowing yourself to understand that you might have slipped up then, but you can do better next time, and you can figure out different ways to calm yourself down and release that energy, or learning how to speak up for yourself without allowing so much energy to be taken away from you. Learning how to speak up for yourself and use your voice without yelling, or without allowing those other people to take so much energy and so much time and so much space in your mind or in your energy. And I think it's important to understand that when it comes to making sure that you are keeping your peace of mind and your energy to yourself, and allowing yourself to protect yourself in those times, and also allowing yourself to nurture your own emotions. That way you understand if it's worth it or not. That way you understand if something is worth your energy or your time enough to speak up. And I think for me personally, I think how I know to speak up how I know to speak up is when I've already done my breath work, when I've already done, writing whatever happened down, or when I understand that it's something that's replaying or really affecting me emotionally. That is when I understand, okay, now I need to figure out how to say this in a way where this person can digest it well, or I need to figure out a way to say this to where I feel like I got across clearly, even if they don't take it in the right way. Because I think it's important to understand that sometimes you can figure out the best way to say something and still the other person on the other side will take it to offense. And I think it's important to understand that if something is affecting you, you need to speak up whether that other person takes it to offense or not, because at that point you'll realize where you should place that person in your life. And I think it's important to understand and have true understanding and direction on where to place different people in your life. That way you are protecting your peace and protecting your space and protecting your energy, and not allowing other people to manipulate how they should show up in your life, or manipulate you into rage bait, or manipulate you into shame, or guilt for standing up for yourself or understanding what is right for you. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to making sure that you are having healthy dynamics with people, or making sure that you are speaking your truth and in situations. Also understanding to have discernment on what to speak up about and what to really just let go. Because if it's something petty that you can just brush off, I think it's important to understand that everything is not worth your time and your energy. Sometimes you have to allow people to deal with their own emotions. And I think it's important to understand if people are genuinely if people are rage baiting you or trying to get you to get out of your character, or whatever the case may be, I think it's important to understand what they are doing and understand when you do speak up, are you willing to allow that much time and that much energy out of your life? Are you willing to waste your time and your energy? And I think it's important to understand if you're willing to take out your time and your energy, your precious time and your precious energy on what you could be using to better yourself, whether that be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, or whatever the case may be, then okay, then that's how you know it's time for you to go ahead and speak up in that situation. And I think it's important to understand, if you can't find a better way to say something, say it how you need to say it. If you can't find, a way to say it to where it's not going to be as harsh, then you have to say it harshly. I think it's important to understand to not be so afraid of conflict that you are having internal conflict and internal battles within yourself, and having this false illusion of peace outside of yourself. Because I think it's important to understand, when you are dealing with a lot internally and you have this illusion of peace outside of yourself, that creates an elephant in the room that is not spoken but is felt. And I think it's important to understand that it's more important to keep the peace within you than it is to keep the peace outside of you. For me personally, I would rather chaos be going on outside of me than chaos going on inside of me. So I think it's important to understand how to get out what you need to get out, whether that be in a creative space, whether that be to that person or to that situation, whether that be in whatever form you need to get it out. I think it's important to get it out in a healthy manner to where it's healthy for you and creates healthy, authentic connections within your space. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to speaking up and living in your truth, or shining your light, or taking up space, or whatever the case may be. It's important to learn how to use your voice. It's important to learn how to stand up for yourself without always being aggressive, or because a lot of times, like I said, when you are aggressive, when you are yelling at somebody, they can't hear anything you say. And if it's a person that is trying to get under your skin, that is trying to take your energy from you, that is trying to bring you down to their, so-called level, or whatever the case may be, then at the end of the day, you put yourself in a position that is just going to cause more chaos within you internally. And I think it's important to understand the point of speaking up for yourself, the point of sharing your emotions, is so that you can clear it from yourself internally. It's so that you can clear it from your conscious or your subconscious mind, and get it out in the open, so you don't have a emotional elephant in the room, or so you don't have this battle within you, or this underlining tension between you and another person or a situation. I think it's important to learn how to speak up for yourself. And so when you go to people and you want to fight them or argue or whatever the case may be, you create more chaos internally and externally. So it's important to understand that, if you learn how to speak up for yourself in a way where it is stern but also calm, you'll understand where to place certain people in your life as well. Because when you learn how to speak up for yourself, stern but calm, you'll see what that person was truly trying to do, or who that person was truly trying to be in that situation or in that connection, to where you know where to place them in your life, and where you know how much to give those people emotionally. Because I think it's important to have emotional discernment. Everybody does not deserve your tears. Everybody does not deserve your nurturing, your protection, or your affection. And I think it's important to be, especially when you are a person that is sensitive and emotional, it's important to learn how to protect that in order to be able to give that in abundance to the right people. Because when you're an emotional and sensitive person, if anybody gets access to that, at some point you're going to want to be unauthentic to yourself and turn cold to the people that actually deserve that love. Because everybody's not going to take care of that. Everybody's not going to nurture your emotions, or want to protect your space or protect your emotions like you should be doing for yourself. And so I think it's important to understand, to have discernment on who to give that to, that way you're not holding on to envy or hate or anger within your heart space, so that when the right people come along, you can give from a space of true love and true, authentic, genuine care and nurturing and protection. And I think that's important to understand. That way, you're not being misused or abused, or, belittled or downplayed or manipulated, or attracting narcissists. Because narcissists, their favorite victim is someone that is an empath that has no boundaries. And I think it's important to understand that the favorite victim of a manipulator is a empath, or someone that loves deeply, that has no boundaries. And I think for me personally, I've always been a very emotional person and loving person, and I had to learn that everybody is not going to treat that with appreciation. Everybody is not going to appreciate the love or the care that I am giving. Everybody is not going to love me the same way that I love them. Everybody doesn't love deeply. Everybody is not even tapped into their heart chakra. A lot of people are surface level people, and I think for me personally, if I understand that you're a surface level person, you are not going to get deeper than surface level with me, because I have to understand how to protect myself. I have to protect myself in some way. And I think for me personally, I had to tap into love and deep love, and return that back to myself, and understand how to keep that authentic and how to protect that from the people that didn't deserve it. And I think it's important to understand how to protect yourself, and how you protect yourself when you're a deep loving person, when you are sensitive and kind, is having discernment on who to give that part of you to, because everybody does not deserve that. Everybody does not deserve your deep love. And I think that's important to understand in order to make sure that you make sure that your heart stays intact and you're protected from the wrong people. And also understanding how to speak up for yourself when you understand that there's people in your life that you want to be in your life. Understanding how to have uncomfortable conversations with them in order to make sure that the connection is genuine and it's not elephants in the room, or it's not whatever the case may be. And also understanding if you have to be around people that don't necessarily understand you or love you or unconditionally love you or want to be there for you or show up for you or whatever the case may be, or have your back or protect you or protect your emotions or whatever the case may be, then it's important to be that for yourself. And it's important to do the necessary steps in order to continue working towards your dreams and your goals, or continue working towards what you need to work towards in order to remove yourself from that situation at some point. And I think it's important to understand that, and be patient with yourself, and be patient with whatever situation you have to be in order to get to the next step, or in order to be grateful for the situation that you're in, or whatever the case may be. I think that's important to understand. Learning how to, be there for yourself in every space and every way. Learning how to, see yourself and be confident in that, and also learning how to be a voice for yourself as well, and be confident in that, and allow other people to feel uncomfortable. Because sometimes in order for you to be comfortable within yourself, in order for you to keep the peace within yourself, you have to speak up for yourself. And sometimes, when somebody is triggering you back to back to back, it's important to cut those people off, or figure out a way to walk away from that situation at some point, and not just, keep dealing with the pain and the hurt or the trauma that they're trying to put on you, or the fear or whatever they're trying to put on you. I think it's important to understand that. But yeah, I hope y'all like this video. I hope y'all like this podcast. Make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Truth's Podcast with your host, True Car.